Welcome to Bike to Talk and another virtual chat, this time with Cycle News road test editor and fellow Aussie Rennie Skaysbrook. There's a link in the description to the Cycle News channel, so be sure to get over there and check out some of Rennie's videos. Rennie, thanks for joining me on Bike to Talk. To start with, tell me a little bit about how you first started riding.
I think I was 3 when I first rode a bike. I got my first bike for my 5th birthday, which is a QR50 Honda, and it's been that way kind of ever since. Been riding pretty much non-stop, sort of morphed into a career. But yeah, it's been great. You know, it's taken me all around the world, and I've got to experience so much of life, I guess, as a result through motorcycling. I mean, like, it's not cheesy to say that motorcycles are entirely my life. It's my job. I go to bed thinking about bikes. I wake up thinking about bikes, and I've got a 4-year-old kid who's completely obsessed with motorbikes. So it's probably going to continue into the next generation. So, you know, I don't think he's going to be a doctor, put it that way.
Mate, your family is quite well known as a motorcycling family, particularly in Australia. Can you give me a bit of insight into your family?
Well, that goes back, I suppose, back from the beginning that I know of, at least, was my grandfather, Chaz. He was a motocross scrambles champion, as it was back in the day. Then Dad, obviously. Dad's probably the most famous Skaysbrook, I think, out there. You know, he's done everything, and TT racer, 3-time TT racer, and flat dirt track, a bit of a dirt track Aussie legend, and motocross, and was the first Aussie to come over to the US and do the Trans AMA series against guys like Roger Da Costa and Joel Rivera and those legends of motocross. My uncle Peter, he also raced on and off, although he was a bit more on the technical side of things. And yeah, my mum raced, and my mum still rides every day. I think that's how Mum and Dad met. I think Dad was running a Honda dealership at the time, and Mum took the bike in to get serviced, and so Dad just like, all right. And yeah, that's kind of how we are. I mean, we're pretty much known as the bike family.
Now tell me if I'm wrong. You're a qualified mechanic, you studied journalism, you're a road test editor for Cycle News in the US, you're the current Pikes Peak champion and record holder, you're a husband, a father. Is there anything that you can't do?
Well, I didn't actually finish college, so that's one thing. No, I was a mechanic, and because I was an idiot, I didn't think at the end of school, and I needed a job. Dad basically said, if you want to do stuff, you got to get a job. So I got a job as a mechanic at Porsche, and that lasted a couple of years, and then joined Volkswagen, and then yeah, I realised how much I hated getting covered in diesel oil from Volkswagen transporters. So I really wanted to be a bike journalist. So I ended up going to Macleay College in Sydney, and my whole plan was to do the diploma of journalism and media studies, and then get a job as a bike journo. And then I got offered the job by Jeff Ware at the end of the first year, which is 2007. And I went to the careers counsellor, and they said, I go, I've been offered this job. And he says, well, is it the job you want when you get out of here? And I went, yeah. He goes, well, see you later. And that was it. And then off we went, and I started learning on the job.
So you've been working as a journo ever since?
Been full-time since 2008. I did 18 months with Jeff at Rapid Bikes magazine, which sort of morphed into bikereview.com.au. I ended up then getting the job as the road test editor at Australian Motorcycle News. And after 4 years, I was like, I want to go do my own thing. And I started my own magazine called Freewheeling. That only lasted a couple of years, learned a lot of business lessons out of that one. I got offered a job to move to America, and that was October of 2014. And from about the middle of March 2015, I've been here ever since. So I work for Cycle News, so those guys in the back there. When I was leaving Freewheeling, I had typed up my letter of resignation, and I was waiting to go into the office basically and hand it to the bosses. And I got on Twitter, and I never bothered looking at Twitter anyway. And then I looked at it, and it said, and Paul Carruthers, who, son of Kel Carruthers, Aussie legend, who was the editor of Cycle News for 30 odd years, he put a thing up saying that he was leaving Cycle News to go and run the PR at Moto America, American Superbike Championship. And so I sent him a message, and I was like, what's going on? And tried to hit him up for some freelance work, and 10 minutes later I had a job offer to move to America. And so I rang up the then fiance and said, what do you think? And she's like, yep. So that was it, we're out of there.
What was your first road bike?
First road bike was a gorgeous little Yamaha SRV 250. Yeah, it was a beautiful little thing, little cafe racer looking thing. I must admit at the time I really wanted a Honda CBR 250, but Dad got me this thing, which now I only ever have good memories of that bike. Yeah, I'd love to actually get another one of those things, a little crimson red SRV 250. It was a really cool little bike.
Rennie, what is it that you love about motorcycling?
I think half the reason why I like it so much is the isolation that you can. It's one of the very few things you can do in life that removes you from all the stuff in your own life. And I think that's half the reason why I'm so bloody addicted to racing, is because it's the only time I can think of where you might have 10 minutes out of your day or 15 minutes out of your day where you have one focus on your mind. And there's something very liberating about that. You know, when you, on the other side of the coin, like when you're touring, for example, you don't have anyone else to have to deal with. You know, you can either put music on, you can not, whatever, and you can sit there and run through the problems in your head and try and figure out solutions.
What do you currently ride on the road?
Well, at the moment I don't even have my own road bike. I just ride whatever they give me. So at the moment I've got a MT-07 Yamaha, and I bloody love the thing. Like, it's the same. My mum's got one. Tomorrow I'm riding the new Kawasaki ZX-10 on track. And on Friday, I've got a new Speed Triple Triumph coming, and I'll have that for a week. So yeah, I just ride everything, to be honest.
If you could have one more bike in the garage, what would it be?
Dad's NCR Ducati from the TT, easy. I'm never going to let him live that down that he didn't buy that bike. It's such a beautiful bike. I mean, for us, there's so many bikes out there that I would love to have. But I mean, in terms of like a family heirloom kind of deal, like I'd love to have that bike in the garage, but you know, I would also love to have my Pikes Peak Aprilia in the garage too. But that's sitting in the showroom in New York City. I've asked for it so many times, and I'm not getting it.
So what's one bike that you'd like to see the manufacturers make or bring back?
I would love to see Yamaha make a YZF 9 based off the MT-09. Only because when they killed the R6, they didn't have anything to replace it with, and the R7 is not an R6 anywhere near, it's not even close. I'd love to see something like that. I'd love to see Honda build a new, like a mid-level Africa Twin. That'd be pretty cool.
What's the most interesting place that you've ridden?
We were at a Bridgestone tyre launch in Wazazart. We were on this, it looked like we were riding on a top of a volcano, basically. Like the rocks with like that blood red kind of, looked a bit like Australia, to be honest, but no bull dust, none of that stuff, just Martian rocks kind of thing. And we found an old slave jail that was in the middle of freaking nowhere, and like it was a half an hour to find, like half an hour on an adventure bike at 60 mile an hour or 100k an hour before you found anything, you know, like a road or anything. And there's in the middle of bloody nowhere, and so we're in this slave jail and we're doing wheelies on adventure bikes in slave jail from bloody pre-Bible era or whatever it was, like enormous bloody thing, incredible. And then I'll never forget it, we stopped and I looked around and these kids just started coming out, these nomad kids coming out of, like, it's like they look like bloody meerkats just pop out of the ground, and they just started appearing out of nowhere and then just trying to sell us trinkets and whatever. I'm like, did you know we were coming? Like how did you get here?
So as a road test editor, what's one bike that's really surprised you?
The Royal Enfield Himalayan, for that price, not a bad bike. I mean, it's a tank of a thing, but I mean, I rode a Royal Enfield around Nepal and hated it and loved every minute of it. But like, it was like breaking up with like a girlfriend that you fight with all the time. I left and I went home. Yeah, so yeah, there are a lot of bikes out there that are very good, and there are a few that sort of definitely surprised me. But man, I've got to say, I love that MTS7. I go for lunch on it every day, and I'm just so happy on it.
So, Rennie, what's one piece of advice you'd give to young street riders?
I would just say do some tutoring. That's the best thing I could, and I would say that to any rider. It doesn't matter about young street riders. Like, I remember doing a to a tutoring weekend with Jason Pridmore out here, and I picked up stuff that I still use now, and I've been riding for so long, I've been doing it wrong. So it's like the best thing you can do is invest in yourself if you want to make this a long-term thing. I would also advise people to try and ride as many different bikes as you can, because it's very easy to buy to ride one style, get kind of good at it, but not really understand other side of things. Like dirt riding is, there's a reason why Australia keeps producing world champions and great motorcycle races, because we grow up on dirt. Understanding how a motorcycle moves underneath you, which makes you a safer road rider as well. If someone pulls out in front of you and you got to hit the brakes and the thing cracks sideways, you know how to fix it. I think that's the best advice I could give, is to do that kind of stuff, because if you live to fight another day, then you live to ride another day.
I really hope you enjoyed part 1 of my chat with Rennie. If you did, do us a favour and hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. And if you want to be notified when we put out a new video, then hit that notification bell. Next week, we'll put out part 2 of our Rennie Skaysbrook story, where we focus on the ecstasy and the agony of Rennie's 2019 Pikes Peak record ride.